Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Y'all don't have to applaud me. I haven't said anything yet. Oh, that wasn't for me. Oh, thank you, One Voice. You guys are great. Just wanted to let you all know I didn't forget that church started at 10. I do know that, but for some of you, you might not know, but I work at Zephyr Point Conference Center, and we offer in the summer our worship service that starts at 9 a.m. on the lake. So I go there in the morning to set up, be a part of that service, sometimes do parts of it, sometimes add music to it, sometimes speak at it. Today we had Villa Symphonia, who is a camp for musicians out of the Bay Area that come, and so they were a part of our service this morning. And I heard something that I thought might be helpful for us, and I have a couple of announcements before I offer that to us. Just so you know, coming up in July, which we are now in July, Happy Independence Weekend, July 17th through the 19th is where there's going to be communities all over the country who are gathering together in different spaces and places for the Good Trouble Lives On initiative, which is a national, nonpartisan, nonviolent weekend of action to think about the work of John Lewis in the world through this idea of preach, teach, and reach. So I hope all of you will consider being a part of that, as it'll be in Southlake. We have a flyer that also talks about that. Also, July 19th, we'll be continuing our power study, where we'll be concentrating on the power of faith. So that'll be July 19th as well. So this morning, we had a very interesting pastor who spoke this morning. Her name is Reverend Pamela Anderson. And she looks like Pamela Anderson. And it's just always, she's so fun. And she's a Presbyterian minister out of the Bay Area. But she also is a burner. So she goes to Burning Man. She's been going to Burning Man for 30-odd years. And one of the things she likes to do is show our summer staff some of her Burning Man lighting. I don't know what to call it. PO lights, whatever that's called. Do y'all know what that is, the POI? Does anybody know how to pronounce that? Poi lights? Yeah. So anyway, it's the flashing light dance stuff. She does that. She's just such a unique individual. Well, anyway, this morning she was speaking, and I really resonated with what she was saying this morning to all of us who were gathered. And she talked about rest, and the power of rest is that rest is dangerous in our world, because our world doesn't want us to do that. It wants us to consume. It wants us to be people who just continue to do work. She was using the story of the Bible where Pharaoh was making people make bricks. And the idea that that's all you're here for is to produce and to consume. And she talked about rest being dangerous because rested people can think. Rested people can organize. Rested people are powerful. And I was like, I haven't felt very restful lately. I've been very, very busy. And sometimes busyness becomes like this idea in our minds that that's what we should be doing. Like busyness is who we are. And if we're not busy, somehow we're failing in our life, in our world. And I just want to offer to all of us, we should be finding more spaces for rest. And I hope that's what our time together will offer you all, is a place of peace and rest as we gather today. For my talk this morning, I have the privilege of working on our camp curriculum throughout the year. And so we have campers who come every day during the summer. We have probably about 70 to 100 kids who gather at Zephyr Point, and we have this camp all week long, and we offer this curriculum that we write throughout the year. And this year's camp curriculum is building our world. And so every day they have what they call a trail talk, and it's like a 20-minute little lesson Sometimes we use the Bible, sometimes we use other wisdom from other faiths, sometimes we use nature, sometimes we use all types of ways to think about building our world. And so today I'm going to use some of the sub-themes that we came up with this year to talk to us about what does it look like to build our world. First off, we just had celebration of 250 years of this country, and I wondered for you all, what do you imagine for America? When you close your eyes and you see an America that you would be filled with joy and love and proud of, what do you imagine when you think of that? Peace, respect, tolerance, love, a woman president. I hope we get there. Connection with the land. Yeah. People, authenticity. Yeah, I think all of us have this image of what we would want this country to be. And I would say in some ways it is that. And in other ways, maybe not so. And so we try to invite our campers every day. What does it look like to build our world? To be a part of the world that we want for all of us. And in one way, we use imagination to do that. And I came across this quote from David C. Scott, who was talking about pluralism in our world. And he said, in every religious tradition, there are currents of thinking and imagining that are attempts to steer toward a wider we, a we that links rather than divides. And for me, when I close my eyes and I imagine the country that I want to be a part of and that I would be proud of, is this continuing idea of thinking of a wider we. How are we together? Even though we feel like sometimes we're so far apart, how do we imagine a wider we? And I think the religions of the world invite us to consider a wider we. There's so much connectedness between all of us. First, we're focused on this higher power. We all have some version of the golden rule. We all believe in the sacredness of life and of nature. And we all think about responsibility in a way that we hold that. And so when I close my eyes and I imagine a wider we, I think about all these different religions and all the things that they hold sacred for one another. And instead of trying to prove how we're right and they're wrong, imagine the sacredness that each of us holds for one another and what beautiful, beautiful world we can create in that imagination. Another camp theme for this year is this idea of resilience. And we talk about rest as resilience. And one of the examples we use is Alyssa Liu. Does everybody remember the Olympian figure skater Alyssa Liu, who chose to walk away from figure skating because she wasn't finding it to be life-giving anymore. The demands of it weren't the demands that she had for herself. She loved figure skating. She just didn't love the way that it was being treated or the way that she was forced to do things in a certain way. So she took time away. She rested. And she talks about we perform our best when our bodies are rested. We feel energized and excited when we speak up for our own needs. Showing up for yourself is the most important way to show up in your life. For a young person to recognize that in herself is very, very uplifting. And I credit the people around her who gave her agency to be able to do that. But ultimately, she did come back. She won a gold medal. She's incredible. I can't even stand up on figure skates. I'm not very good at that. But she's incredible. And to see that part of resilience, where sometimes resilience doesn't look like pushing through. Sometimes it looks like stepping back, stepping away, giving it space. And again, that's hard in our culture and time because we think when we step away from things, when we let things go, that sometimes that makes us feel like we're failing. But we're not. It's an act of resilience. Justice is another theme that we use when we think about building our world. The Bible is a collection of stories over thousands of years that talk about the people and God. And one of the books of the Bible is called Psalms. Probably, I'm assuming most of us have read a psalm or heard a psalm before. Psalm is this collection of many prayers and praises and poems and petitions to and about and from God. In one of the writings, it reads, "Blessed are those who act justly, who always do what is right." And throughout the Bible, there are many people who are blessed, or as another translation says, are truly happy by acting justly and doing what is right. And as we talked about the last couple of weeks, our practice for this month as we engage our powers and think about it is this idea of claiming good by doing good. And that is an act of justice. I hope that you are claiming that for yourselves as we move into this world by doing the good that it so desperately needs. Another theme that we talk about in our camp curriculum is this idea around building our world that is communal, or this community aspect of it. And one of the interesting aspects of that is thinking about the Black Panther movement. And one of the things that they did that sometimes gets lost when we talk about them is that they recognized a need in their community. And they're the people who started the school program where every kid got a good breakfast. In their neighborhood, they're the first group to recognize the need in Oakland. And they're the ones that started and served breakfast before school for free. That's the power of community that sometimes we don't recognize. Another way of thinking about community is the Buddha talks about this principle of cordiality. And it talks about how it could be kindness in action, kindness in speech, kindness in thought, sharing what we have, shared morality, and shared understanding. I don't know about you, but those 6 things sound like a community I want to be a part of and continue to build up. And I want to be a part of a community that sees a need in my community and steps into that need. Finally, another camp thing that we're talking about with the kids about building our world is change. And I think that's an interesting idea for unity. Change. Do things actually change? Or is it that change happens because we wake up or perceive something differently? Being willing to say yes to what is, even those situations that are causing you discomfort. When you say yes, you're accepting the facts of a situation, but it doesn't hold any power over you. Acceptance opens us up to the field of possibilities, and we see there are many choices before us. The former head of the United Nations said, "To everything that has been, I say thank you. To everything before me, I say yes." Yes changes the energy in our body, and our courageous heart opens up to expressing something creative and different. Through willingness, self-reflection, observation, and acceptance, we are able to take authentic action and live lives filled with meaning, courage, and possibilities. May we say yes to accepting what is and change our perspective and change the way that we see our world. I came across a charge and a blessing that I thought would be appropriate for today, thinking about America. And I invite you to hear these words. We tell the truth about where we have been. We honor both the beauty and the brokenness in our story. Freedom is more than rhetoric. Justice is more than aspiration. Welcome is more than poetry. This chapter will honor our becoming. We are courage. We are compassion. We are just. We are honest. We are whole. Let's continue to build our world towards one where we see and believe and step into the future. And recognize that we can see and be the world we so desperately imagine. So it is. Amen.